Welcome back to Great Lakes Junction, everyone. So as you know, there was a video earlier that we were getting this 2013 Hyundai Elantra ready for a safety check. We had bought it as is, and I had to replace the rear seat belts. So that has been done. Now we're still working on it. It's only been a couple of days for me. So I'll just quickly go over what we've done so far, and then what the last thing is that we're working on. So we found the brake light that's in the rear window was not working. One of the two license plate lights, was one there and there's one on this side. This one was not working. The backup lights were not working. One headlight was out on the passenger side, and the driver's side front signal light did not work. So surprisingly, when we replaced, this was just, and they're all light bulb issues. When we replaced the light bulb in this brake light in the rear window, the backup lights worked also after we fixed that. So they must be on the same circuit, and somehow with that blown bulb it was not completing the circuit, so the backup lights did not work. So that was an easy fix. Light bulb location, you just duck in underneath the trunk, is right here. That socket gets a quarter turn counterclockwise, pulls out, and the bulb is inside that socket. That's all it was to changing that. This fabric, I don't know if it shows up, there's a fabric cover here on the trunk, and it just has a series of these clips. So you get all of these clips out. Once you get the fabric off the trunk, you can see the inside of this light for the license plate. There's a large clip on this side on the plastic casing of this. Squeeze it in, pull this light out here through the trunk, and then there's a couple more clips to separate the body from the lens. Separate the body from the lens, and you can pull the bulb out of that body, change that bulb. So that was an easy fix. So we'll move around to the front of the vehicle. So that signal light on the driver's side was not working. This headlight was not working. Now it's very easy on this side for the headlight bulb. There's enough room. This plastic cover, again, quarter turn, it pops off. You can see the light bulb inside. Once you do, keep wiggling the light bulb as you're pulling it out, the light bulb will come out. No screws to remove, nothing there. So once we replace that light bulb, the signal light started working on the other side also. So unless this car has some real crossed up wiring in the circuits, it just seems the way they have this thing wired up that one thing affects something else. The only other thing we couldn't get working was the four-way flashers. So we have the center console here partially taken apart. Unfortunately, I didn't video it coming apart. My son had taken this apart while I was working on the rear seat belts. But the control for it normally would sit right in here. We'll try and do a video of putting it back together, so at least we can see where all the screws and clips are anyhow for you. So the center control unit was right in here. Now I'll move over to that. It's sitting on the workbench. Here's our center control unit. Hazard or four-way flashers, hazard lights, whatever you want to call them. Button for them right there. All your different vent controls, AC controls, and this car also has heated seats in it, so the controls for that are in here. So I talked to a service manager at a Hyundai dealership, told him the issue I was having with everything's fixed except the four ways. He said maybe this button is not working. It feels the same as all the rest when you push them, so you can't tell just by the feel of it. We took this out, popped this back off. There's a series of these clips all the way around it. It's a little tricky to get the back off. These clips on the side, there's two on every side of it, and I found I had to use like 3 screwdrivers just to hold the clips open until you could start working that back cover off. And once you get the back cover off, all you see is a circuit board. So we stopped. We didn't want to go any further. I didn't know what was beyond that circuit board. Therefore I couldn't see any more of that switch to check the switch. Searched online, and there was a few comments online that if the four ways aren't working, it's the PCI module that is within the fuse box housing. And I'll show you that. So here's your fuse box housing out of that car. And that is the way it would sit in the car when you look underneath, all your fuses and stuff there. There's only 3 screws that hold it in. There's one in this side and 2 up here on the top. There was a part of the wiring harness is actually clipped into that. your 5 plugs there on the front, plugs on the back. There was a white plug in this car. There was a white plug here. Nothing was plugged into it. It just slides onto this clip. So maybe it was for another feature or option that this car doesn't have. So that's what was on there. Now, the front ones are not bad to get to and unplug everything. The screws are easy to get at, to take it out. The back plugs are a little bit trickier to get out because there's not much movement when you undo this to pull it forward to get in behind it and undo those clips on the rear plug. So they were a little tricky to get unplugged. So not knowing if it was the PCI module in here or an issue in here, I went to the wrecking yard today and I bought both pieces. This is the one that I got at the wrecking yard, and this is the other one I got at the wrecking yard. A little dusty, dirty, chrome's all missing on these knobs. The dealership did tell me that because his car has the heated seats, I'd have to find one that has heated seats in it so that it was an exact match. And fortunately, I was able to find just that. So I brought this home, just the 2 plugs, plugged those 2 plugs in, tried the 4 ways, they worked. Tried all the other buttons, all of the other buttons seemed to work. I could feel the seats heating up. So the circuit board's good in this one, everything's working. But because of the condition of it, we're going to take the circuit board out of this one and put it into his. So he's got a nice clean unit to put back in the car again. So I got 2 on that side and 2 on this side. The clips are released. I started that one and started to pry the back off. Now we just work our way around and start prying that off. And there's our circuit board inside. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Phillip head screws in here holding that circuit board in. There's 1 in each corner, and there's 1 just above this white plug in the center. Oh, well, it gets us a little bit of a cleaner unit, but that center air conditioning button control that has the chrome missing comes with the board. So we did decide just to switch out the board, keep his nice clean looking face that he had. There were bits of chrome that had not peeled off of that control knob yet. So I just gently scraped off the rest of the bits of chrome that were there and cleaned the dirt off. So it's not bad looking. It almost looks as if it just never had chrome like the original one. So I've put that back into his casing. Back on. Just got to put it back in the car. So this is the part where I was saying it goes, the part up here at the top with the radio, there's a plastic tab that sticks down, so you need to go behind the tab, but then there's a couple of locating pins that this housing has to sit over top of. So we can just gently pull it forward, and that'll move enough, because we have everything loose, to let you get those alignment pins into position. Just like that. So now we can tighten up the screws on the side of the radio that we had loosened off. Those. All right, so we got the radio fastened back in. Now that centerpiece that we were actually working with, just below where those locator pins are, there's a hole on each side. A couple of more screws and we'll put that back in. Okay, so now this has to be in neutral, at least neutral anyhow, to get this back over top of this. So I've put a block behind the back wheels. Okay, and we have 2 screws, so the clips are in. Said there was 2 in the center, 2 in this end. We snap those into place. Now there's a screw on each side in that. Okay, so I was telling you there's a C-clip here that holds the shifter knob onto the shaft. This little chrome plate covers up the bottom of your shifter lever, so it actually hides that clip. So we'll drop that on first. That just pops in, and that little chrome plate, one way or the other, slides back up to cover that clip and snaps into place. Now, we'll see if we can figure out how this bezel goes back in. Okay, so that one's just got 4 clips, 2 in the bottom here, 1 on the top on each side. That pushes back in. Screws, one's in the bottom of this, one he's putting in now, and the other one right up here at the top. So this trim piece, once you snap it back on, 3 screws on each side. Now we got these side trim pieces, and they're just clips all the way along. There's no screw fasteners on these. And that's it. We have everything back together. Now we have 4-way flashers. So I'm not sure if you found anything very useful there or not. If you had to take the radio out, it would be all the same thing. There was just, as I had the screws loose for the radio, I just didn't remove it completely. That takes that, I suppose, that takes everything out of that center console. So if you do have an issue with your four-way flashers, that may be the cheaper route for you to pursue first, is doing it that way. Hope this video helped you. Thank you very much.